What's going on, you lot? I hope you're all well. Now, what do all these people have in common? They all make hash browns wrong. Of course, I'm only joking. I'm just being a little bit picky. I have tried all their methods, and for me, the texture isn't quite right. So we're going to try and fix that today. So let's go to the table and get on with it. Right, so the first thing we need to do is address the potato for our hash browns. And to sum it up as simply as possible, if it's a good potato for chips and crispy roasties, then it's a pretty sure bet that it'll be a good potato for hash browns. I'm using Maris Pipers for my hash browns today, but you can use like King Edwards or Roosters if you're in the UK. Russets and Kennebecks are probably your best bet if you're in the US. And if you're watching from anywhere else, know that I love you, but you're going to have to figure it out for yourselves. Anyway, peel the potatoes to remove all the skin, eyes, and any bruises they might have. Some of these potatoes I was using were totally battered with tons of bruises, so I added in a couple more just in case to make up for the amount I was losing due to bruising. That wasn't meant to rhyme. Once peeled, drop the potatoes into cold water to stop them from oxidizing while you peel your remaining spuds. Little tip, peel over a bowl instead of directly onto your board and it will make cleaning up a doddle. Once all the potatoes are peeled, we're going to get them ready for our hash browns. Now, where I think a lot of people who have made hash browns before on YouTube are going wrong is the texture. Almost every video I've seen involves grating all the potato, but if you've ever had a hash brown, you'll know there are a variety of textures inside. They range from grated potato to little and large chunks all formed together, so that is what we're going to replicate today. So for half of this potato, we're going to grate it. Now I'm going to use my grater attachment on my food processor as I found this produces a much thicker shred of potato, giving our hash browns a much better texture. Using the box grater does work alright, but the potato shreds are super thin and flat and they just end up mush in our hash browns and that just won't do. So before we grate the potato, I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of vinegar to a bowl of ice cold water. This is just to help with the structure of our potatoes as we cook them, allowing us to cook them a little bit longer without them breaking down to mush. So trust me, you don't want to skip this step. Once you're ready, grate the potatoes and transfer the grated potatoes to the acidulated water as soon as possible to stop the potato from oxidizing and going brown. Give the grated potato a good mix in the water and then leave to stand for at least 10 minutes while you sort out the other half of the potato. For the remaining potato, cut into large rough dice and place into the bowl of the food processor, which should have been rinsed out and fitted with a standard blade. Then add just enough cold water to the food processor to barely cover the potatoes. Pulse the potatoes bit by bit to roughly chop them up. The water here is just to help ensure that no potato gets stuck on the bottom with the blades whirring, creating a useless puree. Feel free to ignore me, but this method gave me the best results time after time. Once the potato is chopped up, you should have an assortment of potato pieces that look like this, all different shapes and sizes. Drain the chopped potato with the water that we used to blitz them, and then transfer to another bowl of acidulated water, give it a little mix, and then leave it to stand for at least 10 minutes. Once your potato has been in the acidulated water for 10 minutes, feel free to rinse in several changes of cold water. Of course, you can just do this in the sink at home, but I'm not setting up all my over there. So this arduous task of transferring the potato from one bowl to another will symbolise that rinsing stage. Rinse and repeat until the water is clear and you can't see any more starch coming off your potatoes. Then drain the whole lot. Transfer the potatoes to a clean tea towel or dishcloth and then proceed to twist the cloth really nice and tight to wring out as much water as physically possible. You might need to break this up into 1 or 2 batches to make it a little bit easier. Then once it's done, transfer it to a bowl while you get your fat ready. This looks like grated mozzarella, doesn't it? Now we're going to blanch our grated potato in delicious fat. I ended up choosing Clarified Butter because of all the testing I did with oil, lard, duck fat and butter. For me, Clarified Butter came out on top when it came to flavour. Personally, I wouldn't even bother with oil because I think you need a fat that solidifies when it's cold, and this is going to help keep the shape of your hash browns once they are chilled. Oil does not do this and they just end up falling apart when it comes to cooking them. You can clarify your own butter or you can buy it in most supermarkets, I'd imagine. You can also find it as ghee, but if you can't find it, just clarify your own. It's super easy. Place the clarified butter into the pan and warm it up until it is completely liquid. Then add your shredded potatoes to the warm butter and make sure all the potato is covered in the fat. Place over a medium-high heat and get the butter to between 95 and 100 degrees Celsius. Once the fat reaches this temperature, cook the potatoes, stirring from time to time for about 5 minutes just to blanch them off in that clarified butter. It should be bubbling gently like this, but it shouldn't be going crazy as if you're deep frying it. We want this potato to be just cooked and still soft after all this is done. Basically, the best way I can describe it is al dente. If you have al dente potato shreds, you're good to go. After 5 minutes, drain the potato, reserving that clarified butter because we are going to be using it again in a moment. Then spread the al dente potato out over a plate, season lightly and put to one side to cool down while we tackle the chopped up potato in exactly the same way. Drain and rinse it into a tea towel, squeeze the ever-loving crap out of it, into the warm butter, make sure it's covered, up to 100 degrees C, cook for 5 minutes until al dente, drain, reserve that butter for something delicious in the future, and then spread it out over a plate, season, and leave to cool. So now you should have equal amounts of butter poached, grated and chopped potatoes. Once the potato is cool enough to touch, spoon both of them into a large mixing bowl and we can move on to the next stage. So we're just going to bind these potato pieces together with the help of a little corn flour mixed with some onion powder and some garlic powder. If you can't get corn flour, I'm pretty sure potato starch or tapioca starch or rice flour will probably do the trick. You really don't need much as it's the butter that does most of the binding for us, but a little added starch doesn't hurt. Sprinkle the corn flour mixture over the potatoes and mix everything together with a spoon. Then get your hands in there and give everything a really good mix together, working the mixture until it holds together when you compress it, but also flakes apart into the individual pieces of potato. This way when we cook it later on, we know it will hold its shape, but it'll also fall apart and almost melt in the mouth when we eat it. Weigh out the mixture into 75-gram portions and roll each portion into a little compact ball. Once all the mixture has been weighed, we're going to shape each one into a triangle. Now, I don't know what shape hash browns are where you are, but I really don't care. This is the shape of hash browns as I know it. This is the hash brown you have with a fry up, the one I had with dinner as a kid. Feel free to make whatever shape you like, and yes, there's probably a quicker and more efficient way to shape these little fellas, but shaping each one by hand was really fun and just the sort of thing I like getting lost in, trying to make each one perfect. I mean, look at that, it looks like a f***ing breakfast robot made it. Once all the hash browns are shaped, then all we need to do is chill them. Now you can stick them in the fridge for a couple of hours to allow the butter to harden and hold everything together, or if you're in a rush, like I was, you can stick them in the freezer for 20 minutes, and that will pretty much do the job as well. Then finally, all that's left to do is deep fry these hash browns to a perfectly crispy golden brown. Preheat your deep fryer or pan of oil to 180 degrees C and carefully lower the hash browns into the hot oil. I'd recommend cooking these in batches. Due to the size of my pan, I kept it to 1 or 2 at a time. After 5 or 6 minutes, you should have golden crisp perfection. Drain on a cooling rack to help keep your little hashies nice and crunchy while you fry off the rest. I mean, I assume you're eating them all in one sitting, right? That's what I thought. Once you've fried off the last of your hash browns and drained them on the wire rack, I mean, Jesus, look at that colour. These are insane. Sorry, I got distracted there. What were we saying? Season them generously with sea salt and serve them up. To be fair, I did find it tricky to plate a mound of crispy hash browns in an aesthetically pleasing way. But I thought it would be fun to show you what the shop-bought version looks like in comparison. I followed the manufacturer's cooking instructions to the letter, and this is what we've ended up with. Anemic, sad-looking, floppy little hash browns. I mean, if you enjoy these sort of hash browns regularly, then all I can say is please don't make my recipe because it will ruin hash browns for you forever. These ones are firm, crisp, beautifully coloured, packed with flavour, and there will be no going back. And if you need proof on that crunch factor of these hash browns, I'll show you. Now, I don't really like filming myself eating because this isn't a fucking mukbang video and I find it a bit gratuitous, but I couldn't resist. Here is a hash brown about 40 minutes after deep frying, after I'd finished all these vanity shots. I mean, come on, are you joking? That'd be crunchy. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, the recipes are in the description down below. Hit the notification bell for more videos in future, and if you can like, subscribe, comment and all that other crap, I'd really appreciate it. I will see you in the next one.